Okay, so I was thinking about this. I know since school is out for like the more traditional sort of average student, and particularly like those who are getting into high school, and definitely those who are sort of graduating high school, maybe either starting trade school or going to a traditional college or going to college period because sometimes you can do college online or you're just choosing to work or maybe taking some time off, but whatever you're doing. One of the things I was thinking about when it comes to teens is that when they are younger, how important it is to really get them prepared for being disciplined. And I might sound kind of privileged coming from this point of view because I I don't know if it was part of my predisposition, um, but I was involved in activities like in elementary school, and then I went to a performing arts school for middle and high school. So by the time it was college hit, like I kind of knew myself where I knew when I was off my game and I needed to clock in. And so um I became very disciplined. And I think sometimes the word discipline makes a lot of people uncomfortable because a lot of people use it in a context with the connotation of like getting a spanking or whooping or whatever. But actually, that actually is quite different than what the actual word should be focused on. It really is about setting yourself up with a standard that every day this is what you're going to strive for and these are the steps you're going to take and the moments that you need a break, yes, and it does not require you to overwork so that you're like overly responsible. And it doesn't mean don't ever like, have a break where you just can't, you could step away from reality a bit and relax and not feel like you have to do something. But I am telling you, having discipline is like one of the biggest ways that you can show love to yourself because you are granting yourself an opportunity to be aware of the world and also create a life that will bring you joy. And it may be hard to like visualize this on the surface of just sort of listening to someone talk about this. However, I truly believe that discipline is truly the key of really just navigating this world. And more so, it's also important and valuable when it comes to dealing with life stressors because you don't get to control your entire environment all the time. Like it's a bi-directional process, meaning there are times you're going to be able to control your environment, there's times you're not going to be able to, right? And stressors and demands of the world going to happen. But those who are disciplined, I think that they do much better with being able to take on some stressors. Now, again, this does not mean overwork yourself to being so overly responsible that you don't know how to reach out for help. That's what being resourceful for. And I think that that's also like in conjunction a key element with the discipline, meaning that you kind of know yourself. But that's what I was saying about me is I feel like I was aware of myself where I knew when to reach out for resources. I mean, I knew how to use my resources. I was aware of just knowing like who was who. I paid attention to a lot of who was who in the rooms and who I should go to with certain things, like who's more procedural, who was more like transactional, who was full of crap. And for me, just being able to create that life was much better. Now, does that mean that I had everything together? Absolutely not. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I can give you a lot of stories of terrible so-called friendships I had, and the amount of just utter disrespect and all of those things. And that is not taking on any type of um act that, those things were like one way. At some point I had to, like, clap back at certain people and things of that nature. But not to get completely off topic, what I'm saying is that it's having discipline is like a foundation. It's like grounded where, like, even if you have to like rebuild a life over, I think it's more easier. And so that's why I say this for, like, younger people, like starting them off with like little routines, having them like do a few things for themselves that is age appropriate until they get older. Because I believe by the age of 16, if a child does not have some form of routine and discipline, I'm not saying that they can't do well in life. Absolutely not. That's just not a fair assessment. And it's definitely not fair to say, because there could be a lot of other factors and the nuance that could be impacting people. But there's a great chance that those people who, if things went down and they needed to rebuild a new life or pivot, or they are more likely to do that. They really have what it takes. So this is why, for example, for those who probably don't even know, like a lot of people who like dance or in performing arts, they typically do well. I'm not saying that people who were not in the arts or whatever don't do well. There are amazing people. I know plenty of people who didn't do any of that stuff and they are doing extremely well. But I've seen the pivots, I've seen the movement, and they really do have that foundation where, like, if they need to start over and rebuild something different, they do really well. So just taking, the meat and spit out the bones type of rant right now. But I would encourage, a lot of parents right now in the summer is sort of kind of work with your child, age appropriate, of course, because I'm not a fan of putting a lot of things on children, especially because you feel like that was your stuff. There were things that I liked to do when I was a child simply because I just wanted to know. But I also, again, I think that I had a predisposition about like doing and figure a lot of things out. And I really just wanted to make sure I just had this idea of being prepared. I have no idea what that was about, but I felt like that there was always a voice saying like, "Hey, you need to learn how to wash clothes, you need to learn how to clean your home, you need to learn how to do all these things." Now, again, I'm not perfect cuz sometimes I'll be like, "Oh, I'm gonna wash these clothes," and then I'm not folding. Like I washed some clothes last night, and I was just like, "Yeah, I'm not I'm not gonna fold them, but I'm gonna fold them today." But I still can go back to like just this desire to kind of want to learn how to like do activities of daily living. And then now that I'm older, I'm very into like stretching and of course going to the gym and making sure I'm watching I'm eat. I'm more now interested in macros than just calorie counting because I have to check myself and realize eating a calorie deficit, that's just part of it. That's like one third of it. That's not even like really the protein got to be up, whatever, right? So switching, being able to check myself to switch. And I think that that's kind of the premise of what I'm getting at is a lot of this people who have discipline, they are capable of switching and locking in. And so this is what I'm saying. Just, recognize those things. The last thing I'll point out, and again, I feel like I'm jumbling all over the place. Partly, some of this is intentional. I won't lie to you, because I feel like sometimes people need to actually like go to a therapist, and sometimes us as licensed therapists, we get on here and we can sometimes talk in a way that may be too much. But I'm just trying to have a regular girlfriend conversation, if anything. Um, what was I gonna say? The Oh, I forgot. Well, I guess it wasn't that important. It wasn't that important.